Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Six Flags Magic Mountain is one of the most beloved Six Flags parks at the very least, and definitely one of the most loved amusement parks in all of the United States. However, I think while it is a very good park, it is overrated. From the roller coasters not being quite as strong as some say, to many aspects of the park being just kind of flawed that make for a relatively unpleasant experience when you're walking around, this is why Six Flags Magic Mountain is overrated. Before we begin, bear in mind it's entirely just based on my opinions and experiences. If you disagree and you love the park, good for you. You're getting more enjoyment than I am, and that's what matters most, right? Now let's really get into this, starting with the roller coasters. I will talk about all roller coasters, including those I don't think are overrated. So first of all, Twisted Colossus is my number one at the park, and it's very good. It's one of my favorite roller coasters out there. I'd say it's actually underrated by a little bit. It's among the best RMCs, only behind the two big hyper ones for me. Even when not dueling, I can enjoy the first drop, airtime, inversions, and the fact that it kind of goes through and weaves through another layout. It doesn't have to duel to be great, so it's great all the time. Easily my number one. At number two, Tatsu is also strong. Tatsu is one of the best B&Ms out there for having a phenomenal layout, balancing the very interesting, intense moments like that pretzel loop, with some unique, graceful stuff going around the terrain. And the fact that this is kind of at the top of a mountain makes for a wonderful setting. B&M Flyers as a whole are one of my favorite models, and I'm very happy that I've been on this one, and so far it's my favorite of the model. Plenty more I can get to first, of course, but for now it's pretty great. Unfortunately, we now get to the first overrated coaster here, X2. X2 is my third favorite in the park, but while I hear some say it's the best roller coaster out there, so intense, extreme ride beyond all comprehension and stuff, I don't get it. After the first drop and the first turn, the ride is good, but it's not mind-blowing. And you might be saying, well, you can't hate a ride just because it's not mind-blowing. Just because it doesn't meet your expectations doesn't mean it's a below-average ride. And you're right. It's not below average, it is just below hype. The people who say this is the best roller coaster out there, they like it a lot more than I do, no doubt. And remember, I'm not trying to say Magic Mountain is worse than other people say necessarily, or that it's bad especially. I'm just trying to say that Magic Mountain is overrated, implying other people like it more than I do. And X2 is a big part of that. Some hate X2, I get that for sure. It is a painful finale. And the ride itself has its flaws. But it does have great moments for sure, and the intensity does carry through a lot of the ride. It's just not as disorienting as a lot say. I dare say Tatsu is more intense and disorienting. But now we have to talk about the single rail. Wonder Woman Flight of Courage I have not ridden, but I've ridden Jersey Devil, and I like it a lot. I think it's a smooth ride like most RMCs, and of course a big benefit of being an RMC is it's well-rounded. I enjoy the inversions, I enjoy the airtime, this one does not feel short, and these are fun rides. This being number 4 definitely helps the park a lot. It might even be number 3 honestly, this and X2 are kind of fighting it out, and I know a lot of people disagree with that. But that just kind of goes back to the point that I feel like the main star attraction for so many people here is not a star for me. But now let's talk about some of the more supporting rides outside of the big, most thrilling, and most beloved ones. The next best roller coaster here is Batman the Ride. Not the best look. When compared to Great America and Great Adventure, those Six Flags parks have their Batman clones more in the 6th, 7th place range for all the roller coasters. But still, Batman is a great invert. Underrated, no problems there. Apocalypse the Ride, strong wooden coaster. I love the airtime, the speed and pacing are immaculate, and while I don't think it's one of the best wooden coasters out there, it is definitely a fairly rated ride, and a pretty strong one in the park. Now, Full Throttle. Full Throttle is one I think some love, and I wish I could. Some of the moments on here, like the loop, and the top hat even, and just the speed and the backward launch, everything about the ride is fun, the hang time being the highlight for me, but the ride is unfortunately cut short in a very abrupt manner that leaves you wanting in a way few roller coasters do. So that kind of brings down the ride a bit, but it's still a very good one. But now we have the big drop in quality. Now we go to Riddler's Revenge. Riddler's Revenge is the best stand-up coaster, but it's still rough. That is unfortunate. It did not used to be this rough. Things just change over time. I would say it's similar to Kumba at Busch Gardens Tampa, a bit less intense and a bit rougher overall, that is. Kumba can be pretty painful sometimes. But I do enjoy Riddler's Revenge. It just isn't a great ride. It's a very good one, but it's a tier below a lot of strong rides at other Six Flags and other just amusement parks in general. And when I look at a lineup like Cedar Point, I feel like Riddler's Revenge would probably fall maybe not too far from where it is right now, because looking at the list we have, counting Wonder Woman Flight of Courage, Riddler's Revenge would be in the 7 or 8 range. At Cedar Point, I see it more as 9 or 10. So that is a bit unfortunate when comparing the roller coaster lineup to some others, but still a good ride. Superman Escape from Krypton is fun when you're going backwards. It is not fun when you're going forwards. It's just very, very uneventful considering it goes 100 miles per hour. But I do like the backwards version. And West Coast Racers is like full throttle, but the flaws way outweigh the best parts compared to full throttle. I do like some moments. Airtime is good at points. The inversions are not bad. The launches are decent. But the inversions are held back by the headbanging. The restraints are the worst of any roller coaster I've experienced to this day. The only exception might be SLC restraints. Then we go to Goliath. Goliath is a fine hypercoaster. Everything about it's decent. I enjoy riding it, but I don't love it. And it's not really worth the long wait it normally gets. So that's most of the big, thrilling roller coasters. I'll mention Viper. Viper, some love, I don't. So that's kind of unfortunate. But when we look at the roller coasters here, I find X2, Riddler's Revenge, West Coast Racers, Viper, and Full Throttle all relatively overrated, with a few being very overrated. No other park is quite like that for me, I think. Most of them have less overrated rides. Look at Cedar Point, the only one I would say is Magnum. Look at Busch Gardens Tampa, I would say Cheetah Hunt, and maybe Kumba. For one has a similar amount of roller coasters to Magic Mountain like Cedar Point, I look at Kings Island and think the only one that might be overrated is the Bat, and that's only because of how many people call it underrated, and it's not even a major thrilling roller coaster, no offense to Bat lovers. It's weird. Magic Mountain, I think, is just not for me because of the fact that I enjoy a few very strong rides with a decent supporting lineup, instead of mostly supporting roller coasters with far less strong rides. Magic Mountain, I've said before, kind of goes for a quantity over quality thing, proven by the honestly unfathomable laziness of making 4 kid coasters to break a world record. That's a real Six Flags type move to get a little extra publicity. And I realize a lot of parks would do that, a lot of parks still do that, to some extent. But people should know that there's a lot of roller coasters here, and it's not necessarily an immediate indication that it's the best roller coaster lineup in the world. It's fine if you think it is, but just because they have the most does not mean they have the best. I do like some of the family coasters here, mind you. Ninja is a great suspended coaster. Revolution is a decent Schwarzkopf. Gold Rusher is terrible. But moving on, I can't even off the top of my head remember the other family coaster. I know I'm blanking on one other, but we're going to come back to that if I remember it, but it's not that important if I forgot it. So we can talk about one other thing here with the roller coasters, and that is the focus on intensity. We look at Tatsu, X2, Riddler's Revenge, Scream, which in hindsight is the roller coaster I forgot to mention. Scream is not good. Moving on. Viper, Goliath. These are all intensity-focused rides. That's more than the average park. And I will say this is the first park I ever went to where I needed to take medication to deal with a headache. Pain reliever was very helpful. And it's not something I usually had to deal with. I went to several parks after Magic Mountain, so it's not like an aging thing. It's just that these rides are more focused on being intense, and that sometimes means they are headbangers. So I've had quite a headache, and that makes for a less pleasant experience than a park such as Kings Island, where the rides are still intense. You look at Mystic Timbers, you even look at the Beast. These are still forceful rides, but they are not painful when you get off. So unfortunately for me, Magic Mountain is one where while it has a few very worthwhile rides, I don't really have any desire to go back and get on any of them again. But let's talk about a worse element of this park, and that is just the upkeep. Unfortunately, while the park does not look bad, great setting, some beautiful looking roller coasters, a decent layout sans the Superman Escape from Krypton walk, the park is among the dirtier Six Flags parks, and the bathrooms are the most weedy, if you get what I'm saying, that you will find in any park I've experienced. The park definitely has that whole local hangout type feel, and you know what I'm going for. I'm not trying to stereotype anyone who goes there. It's just that the park is not particularly clean or pleasant to be around. And of course, the park is hot. It's in Los Angeles. Winter's like not a thing there. But let's think about this. Is it a shady park? In one way, yes. In the way where it has trees that help keep you out of the sun, not as much. I hope that joke went over pretty well. But either way, the shade thing is not a big issue for me. I just wanted to make that joke. But in general, I thought walking around the park, I wasn't super happy or having a fun time the way I was at a lot of other Six Flags parks, honestly. They had a more fun atmosphere to them. It's hard to describe atmosphere, though I did do it in a video once. But places like Six Flags Great America, Six Flags Fiesta Texas, even La Ronde, these parks I enjoyed walking around, even interacting with some people. Magic Mountain has a much less friendly atmosphere and environment to it, and I don't love being there. It's definitely go for the roller coasters, don't stay for anything else. Still, this is a great park, and I know some of you really are upset that I'm talking about it like this. But I need to make clear, this is just me. It's one person. It's not objective, and I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the park if it doesn't pique your interest. I realize that Magic Mountain fanboys sometimes can be the most brutal of fanboys out there. If you disagree with anything they say, they will call you high. And yes, I realize I'm referring to some of you watching this video in the incorrect person. But yes, I do genuinely get fed up when I hear a Magic Mountain fanboy act as if they are correct, and no one should disagree, when they say Magic Mountain is the best, X2 is king, Cedar Point is worse, all that stuff. I'm glad you like Magic Mountain, but nobody wants to be personally told that they're wrong and negativity and such. I realize I'm now doing the same thing, but hopefully it has some positive impact, where some watching this will stop saying terrible things to people genuinely, just because they disagree with your roller coaster views. It's all in good fun, and if you're arguing over, what, no way, I like this roller coaster more, that's nice. But when you're having the personal attacks on character, that's where it goes too far. So why did I make this video? A few reasons. I did want to go over Magic Mountain again just because I think it's a fun park to analyze. I wanted to make clear that the Magic Mountain fanboys saying the really terrible things to other people should stop. They don't need to necessarily, I guess it's not causing too much harm technically, but it's just not helping anyone. And also, it's April Fool's Day. So you all wanted a joke video, right? Well, I thought it'd be fun if I made this, you clicked on it saying, oh yeah, you know, it's a fun April Fool's joke, and then the joke never comes. So yeah, everything in this video was genuine, not meant to attack anybody, just talking about Magic Mountain, why I don't think it's the best park, but if you think it is, good on you. It definitely is a phenomenal one, just not quite up there for me the way it is for a lot of others. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below your thoughts on Six Flags Magic Mountain. But of course, be civil about it. Subscribe to this channel for more theme park content. I'll see you next time.